Hello my friends and welcome back. It's Wednesday, it's Hump Day, and for the middle of this week, for the spine to be broken of this week, I want to give you the talisman of this specific Ukrainian soldier. What is it? Everybody needs to have their talisman, and this guy wears it inside his hat. And it's a tiny turtle, teeny tiny turtle. It's his talisman. Look at it crawling around. Really nice. Again, I gotta say it. All these animal videos of Ukrainian soldiers taking care of animals on the front line, and they do, because it really helps you stay human, to have this connection of affection to something, some animal, to take care, to love. They come from Ukrainian side. I've not seen anyone coming from the Russian side. Maybe because the Russians eat these animals, I don't really know, but it's always the Ukrainians who do this. Now this has got to be the cutest talisman on the front line I've seen. Wonderful. I also want to share a very short clip of Ukrainian soldiers on the front showing us, the cameraman, why they're fighting. Most people show family. This guy shows friends, wife. I don't see who they are. Wife and daughter, hiking, the view, the country. Everybody has different reasons, but they're all connected. It's family, it's the country, it's the land, it's children. Somebody has pets. They are defending that. It's a defensive fight for them. So for me, watching these videos makes it personal. It makes it human. Who do you have? You have a wife or you have a husband. You have a father or you have son or daughter or sister or brother. You have pets, you have a home, you have a place you like to hike on, where these soldiers do also, and they're fighting to protect that. I share what helps me fight this war, because I'm fighting this war also. I do hope it helps you also. My friends, I want to introduce you to ground news. It's very important in watching the sources which cover the Russo-Ukrainian war to know their background. Are they high factuality? Are they leaning left or right? Who are they owned by? This is why ground news is such a great of a tool. North Korea says it backs Russia to victory in Ukraine. This is the title we're looking at, and you can see the coverage details on the right here. Total news sources 108, meaning it's a very popular topic to cover. Leaning left 15, leaning right 19, and center 23. Bias distribution is 40% center, and the bias distribution chart you can see right below here, left being indicated by a blue color, right being indicated by a red color, center white. One of the most important things about any coverage of any news site is the factuality. 56% high factuality, and anything below high I wouldn't even look at. Also, we have here the ownership chart, which gives us an idea of what might be the agenda behind the wording of the title or behind pushing some kind of a narrative. Now, every owner has an agenda they want to push. Now that you can know about who owns the media house, you can perhaps know what they're pushing. Here we can see the articles, and one by one you can see the titles and headlines, and the wording in the headline gives us a lot of hints of if they're pushing left or right, or if they're just in the center. Ground News has a For You tab, and I can click here and find out only what I want to read about, which in my case is Ukrainian war and Ukraine. Two topics. Ground News is giving my viewers 50% off their Vantage plan during the election season. This is the best deal of the year, and it will only be available for a limited time. So make sure to use my link in the description below. Thank you, Ground News, for sponsoring today's video. My friends, the German government has collapsed. It happened one day after Trump's victory was reported from the United States. Olaf Scholz has always been afraid of Russia and afraid of Putin. He has not taken any significant steps to give stronger weaponry that Germany has. I mean, he started by giving 5,000 helmets, I remember, where everybody else were already giving weapons. So I'm not a big fan of Scholz. I see him as part of this massive de-escalation bloc in the West, which is in my eyes also, I can't believe I'm saying this, but de-escalation in Russia's eyes is weakness. And right now, also in my eyes, it's weakness. You gotta be strong. That's the only way to survive. The conflict is here. It's not about preventing it in the future. This is it. So there will be another German chancellor. We don't know who he's gonna be, but there are candidates. One of the candidates is Moiz. And what he has said, I will present an ultimatum to Putin to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. Hey, why does everybody want to end the war in 24 hours? I guess it's in fashion now. Trump has said it many times. Now Moiz is saying it. You don't gotta end it in 24 hours. We gotta destroy the Russian military, my dude. Relax. We gotta destroy that first, and then we can end the war. I quote, if he does not agree, I will supply Ukraine with long-range Taurus missiles and give permission to strike the territory of the Russian Federation. Now, this is a message I can stand behind. This is the strength I've been looking for in the Western leaders. We have Trump, who is definitely not afraid to make very strong statements, but nobody knows what he's going to do. He has said many different things. Only his actions show what of the things he has said he will actually choose to do. There are many options. Same with this guy here, Moiz. If he will be elected as the next leader of Germany, and if he will go through with what he says here, I stand behind that message. For Estonians, the war in Ukraine is bigger than any economic issue, bigger than any inflation, bigger than any tariffs, import, export, or immigration issue. This is the only thing that matters right now, that Russian army will be destroyed, and by that Ukraine will retain its independence. So I stand behind that message. 3 days ago, Russia started their counterattack in Kursk Oblast. Putin gave a political order. When I say a political, I mean it has no connections with the realities on the ground. It's just another deadline. Putin loves these deadlines. He ordered Kursk incursion, when Ukrainians attacked the Russian soil and controlled ground in Kursk. He ordered that to be recaptured by January 20th, or by the date that Trump will be inaugurated as the United States president. Now, we've seen these deadlines come and go, and almost never. Yeah, I don't remember any time. The Russian army has never been able to fulfill them. But what it does do is force the generals who are responsible for this specific area, Kursk, to throw everything they have at the Ukrainians because the Tsar has ordered so. It all started 3 days ago, and now we see the losses chart. Monday, 2 days ago, I made a video. It was a record day, 1,770 Russian casualties. That's KIA plus wounded plus missing. It's all of three combined. Well, now we have 1,950, and 81 armored personnel vehicles and 23 tanks. Now these are just numbers, my friends. And I'm sorry that I cannot back this up with videos. Wait a minute, there are videos, plenty of them. I spent the entire morning just watching this countless footages coming out of these attacks. In the last 3 days, where these losses are happening, there are many angles. You can make a Hollywood multiple angle movie about that, of Russian columns just driving into minefields. I will describe one of them to you. I cannot show it. 7 armored vehicle column is driving full throttle at Ukrainian lines. There's a tree line, and right before that tree line, there's a minefield. We don't see the minefield, but we know it's there because the first one goes kaboom. Second one doesn't stop, full throttle past it, kaboom. Third one don't stop, goes, and you know what happens. One by one, getting eliminated, and then the camera switches to another drone that starts dropping presents on the soldiers who still are crawling around down there. It's a massacre, and it's ordered by Putin. So yeah, this is where these losses come from. Some people say, source? Trust me, bro. No, I watch the videos, I just cannot show it because it's YouTube. I have to abide by the rules of YouTube. But I've seen all the videos. This is visually confirmed. This being said, Russians have recaptured 3 villages in Kursk in 3 days. Very small advancements of a few square kilometers, but the losses chart speaks for itself. It's a massive trade-off for Russian lives. to destroyed houses recaptured pretty much, because there's nothing left of these villages. But it's a political order, so that's the price Putin is willing to pay. I don't usually show the map anymore, but in this case I have to open up the context. You know, this is Ukraine, and we zoom into the eastern Ukrainian front line, and we see the Kurahove, the settlement right here. This is where one of the most aggressive Russian pushes is happening right now. It's not Kursk, it's eastern Ukraine. And there's a dam right here. You can see where my cursor is. This is the water reservoir, and this is the dam holding the water, and this is the river going westward from the dam. Well, my friends, this dam it's right here. You can see it also on this map. And this is the thermo power plant that is cooled by the water from the river. Well, this, my friends, is that dam. And it holds back a lot of water from the river. And this dam was actually blown up. As you can see, it's a magnificently massive explosion. Look at that fireball. It's big kaboom of freedom. Well, a lot of people say online that it was done by the Russians, and it's a war crime and this and that, of course, but I get information that it's actually done by Ukrainians. It's blown up by Ukrainians. This signifies a few things to us. If we looked at the map also before, it signifies that they are preparing to withdraw. And they are, because the situation is not looking good in the area. They are withdrawing. By blowing this up, they slow the Russian advance. Of course, they have to... Some areas are now going to be underwater, but it's going to be a massive marshland, wetland, and it's going to be very difficult for Russians to advance there fast. So I tend to believe it was done by the Ukrainians. Almost 1.5 weeks in every video I say, we're going to talk about Trump now. Trump is a wild card. He's like a joker. He's a very powerful actor, but nobody knows what he's going to do. He said many different things about Ukraine. He doesn't have one specific path he can follow. He has like 5 different things he can do to Ukraine. Each of them different. Each of them going to lead to very different outcomes. And we don't know. People who say they know what Trump is going to do, they just don't know that they don't know, because Trump is a wild card. He's also impulsive. Nobody knows. But he's picking a team right now, and that team is also speaking. And some of the members of that team might be a little bit more predictable. Maybe you can take their words more seriously, or maybe not. Anyway, these are the messaging coming out of some members of Trump's future team, future administration. And I feel it's very important to report on this, because it affects everybody in the US, everybody in Ukraine, and everybody in Western Europe or the Western world. So it's very much connected. If Trump administration people keep making statements like this, there is going to be a MAGA hats on the street of Kyiv soon. Waltz says, well, he's very focused on ending the war rather than perpetuating it, and and really crafting a strategy to get both sides on the table. I think it's perfectly reasonable that this is going to come to some type of diplomatic resolution. I don't know how much I can agree to this. I mean, diplomatic resolution would require Trump significantly shaking down Russia, because Russia is advancing right now on the front lines, and Putin loves territorial gain, even very small gain with massive losses. He loves it so much. To get him on the table right now where he's gaining on the front would mean Trump would need to roll up his sleeves and shake him down a little bit. And first and foremost, you would enforce the actual energy sanctions on Russia. Very nice. That's what I want to hear from the United States of American presidential administration. And you couple that with unleashing our energy, lifting our LNG ban, and his economy and his war machine will dry up very quickly. Great, very nice. We have leverage like taking the handcuffs off the long-range weapon we provided to Ukraine as well. And this comes from one of the very top possible administration members, Waltz, from Trump's future administration. If that's the way they're going to do it, I love it. It's wonderful. Now, again, these are only words. Actions we will see after January 20th. But I like this communication, because this frightens Putin already, I think. People are saying, there are whispers and rumors that Senator Rubio will be the next Secretary of State. I don't know the guy. You do if you're watching from America and you guys go crazy again. Oh, Artur, why are you talking about United States politics? You know nothing about it. You're from Europe. Shut up. Thank you. Now that this is out of your system, we're going to talk about United States politics. This is possibly the future Secretary of State of the United States of America.
No, I will not. On the contrary. Are you filming it? I want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes. And I hope you guys post that.
And what about the civilians that are being killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians, putting civilians in the way. Hamas knew that this was going to lead to this. So Hamas has stopped building their military installations underneath hospitals.
So you don't care that 15,000 died? You don't care about the babies that are being killed every day?
I think it's terrible, and I think Hamas is 100% to blame.
Again, I don't know the guy. This is a very limited interaction I see right here. But I agree with it 100%. I mean, this is not two conflicts of Israel-Palestine or Israel-Iran and Russia-Ukraine. This is one conflict with the same actors. Russia and Iran are playing both in Israel-Iran war and Russia-Ukrainian war. They're both playing these both conflicts and they're together with the axis of evil. And on the other side, we have now a guy like Mr. Rubio here on the other side. And I agree with his strong tone against Hamas. And we have this pro-Russian, pro-Iranian Free Palestine movement in the West, which is one of the worst things ever to come out of Iran and Russia. It's an information war. And I agree with Rubio and his stance here on Hamas. 100% stand with it. And Estonia as a country also stands with this message. We go back to United States potential future security advisor Mike Waltz and what he said on April 5th of 2022. Now I will quote, "Putin will only stop when he meets cold, hard steel and military might. We must provide sophisticated weapons to Ukraine. We must support Zelensky in an effort to win and drive Russia completely out of Ukraine." Now this is again a communication I love. I know I'm nitpicking. I mean, I just saw these news right now and I took it. Of course, Biden has said the same thing. Almost every Western politician has said the same thing. Actions is what count. Now, these are the words of two of the possible future administration members of Trump. Let's see if they will be followed by actions. And I can already say if they will be, I gotta stand with them because these actions are like Estonia would like to act, like Estonia would like the entire Western bloc to act. If they don't follow them by actions, well, then we just have another politician who speaks and don't do. Now, there's another video, and in this one, Alex Jones, yes, the Alex Jones confronts Trump's new Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. We jump back to Rubio. Now I gotta pull out the card that I'm Estonian and I don't know what the hell is going on because this is United States politics. So what's going on? You are from the US. I know the statistics. Many of you have seen many winters. You're smart guys, smart women, smart men. Please put it in the comments. What is going on in this video? And how can this interaction happen between these two guys?
Does Facebook,
that's why you're going to get elected.
Do they need to be regulated like do they need to be regulated?
Marco Rubio the snake. Little frat boy here.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah, sure.
I swear to God, I don't
You
know
better
who
hope
you are,
you get
man.
deplatforming. Tens of millions of views.
InfoWars.
Bigger than Rush Limbaugh. He knows who InfoWars is. Playing this joke over here. That's why the deplatforming didn't work.
But here's the question. Here's a question.
Don't touch me again, man. I'm asking you not to touch me.
Well, sure, I was just bad at you nicely.
I know, but I don't want to be. I don't know.
You want me to get arrested?
I don't know who you are.
It's not just going to
You're
take my
not
First
gonna get
Amendment.
arrested, man.
It's not just enough to take my First Amendment. Oh, he'll beat me up.
I didn't say
Yeah,
that.
no, I am, but he's so mad. You're not going to silence me. You're not going to silence me.
Well, but there are people.
You are literally like a little gangster thug.
There are people in this country.
Rubio just threatened to physically take care of me.
There are people who
Look at
feel
that.
that they're being
We already got rid of my First Amendment.
silenced. They feel like
He tells you China's the problem, which it is.
I mean, this is just a bully type of situation. And now I know you can now put it, oh, Artur, you don't understand who's Alex Jones. I know who Alex Jones is. I don't know who Marco Rubio is. In this case, it's just painful to watch. What is this? United States of America. Stand united, please. Stand united. What is this? Now, my friends, I'll read you a very short analysis of, again, I remind you, one of potential pathways Trump's administration could take. People, I have to say this again, people who think they know what Trump is going to do and argue about that very loudly online, they don't know that they don't know. Trump acts how he acts, and sometimes impulsively and sometimes in the moment. He has many pathways to take, and this is one of them. We don't know what's going to happen. Nobody does except Trump. A report in the Telegraph describes an evolved plan that includes a buffer zone freezing the conflict. Russia retaining currently held territory, pumping Ukraine full of United States weapons to deter Russia, and deferring Ukraine's NATO membership for years. It is timely to examine how some of the components of these plans and the issue they might contain. We can only explore potential components because there is not yet an endorsed Trump plan for Ukraine. And unfortunately, nor is there a United States strategy for Ukraine produced by the Biden administration in the past 3 years. I already have to comment here because, yes, while I've never been pro-Trump, I was pro-Biden, but I stopped being pro-Biden ever since I saw the first signs of that de-escalation policy that his administration was doing in Ukraine. Ever since I started seeing the slow to almost non-existent reaction to Russian aggression, ever since I saw very soft communication. We live next to Russia, Estonians. We know how to talk to Russians. We have known that for centuries. We know mechanisms. We know how they speak, how they communicate, how they wage their wars. I have to say this. Biden has no idea. No idea. Because if he would have any idea, he would know Russians don't behave like the Soviet Union anymore. With the Soviet Union, there was diplomacy. With Russians, diplomacy equals weakness. They see it as weakness and they advance until you punch their nose bloody, then they will stop. Now, I'm not a man of violence. I don't like violence, but I protect my country, my family. I see the same happening in Ukraine. Biden didn't see that. He tried to talk, he tried to de-escalate, he tried to negotiate, handcuff some of the weapon systems. At this moment is the moment you punch the nose bloody. That's it. You don't come past this line. That's it. That's a simple red line that you will enforce. That's it. Black and white in my eyes. Whoever speaks that message, I stand behind. Whoever doesn't and tries to de-escalate or talk like Scholz, I cannot stand right now, because people will die because of it. So, while I'm not pro-Trump, I am pro-action, pro-strength. I don't know what Trump's going to do, but if he's going to do something that is aggressive against the Russians, I'm with that. Freezing the conflict. If the conflict were to be frozen along the current lines, this would leave Russia occupying almost 20% of Ukrainian sovereign territory. The Russians currently have strategic and operational momentum in Ukraine. They have accelerated the capture of Ukrainian territory over the course of the nearly year-long eastern offensive. The Russians will feel they will be negotiating from a position of strength if there are peace negotiations, and will be reticent to give concession. Reticent? What is this word? Reticent. I'm Estonian. I don't know this word. Freezing the conflict means many Ukrainians will be left in occupied Russia. There is more than sufficient evidence of the systemic looting. It would make any freezing of the conflict at currently held territory a strategic failure and moral failure by Western political leaders. Yeah, it's one of the pathways. If Trump decides to go towards the freezing of the conflict and the demilitarization zone, which we see in Korea, two Koreas, and the ceasefire has been signed, but peace has not been signed. Technically, the Korean War is still ongoing right now, this moment when we speak. When this is the plan, we have two kind of statistics. We have statistics of Germany and Japan, who are utterly devastated and destroyed and fully defeated in World War II, and built up according to Western standards and democracy, with the pillars of democracy, and they're thriving nations when compared to the Soviet bloc. I mean, you can point out issues in Germany and Japan, but they are top world economies. And we have another example of two Koreas, where another approach was used of freezing the conflict in the name of peace, because everybody was tired of that war. It took huge losses. So they decided to pause it and hold it on pause forever. And the outcome is that one Korea is a magnificent world actor with a magnificent economy, and another one is almost starving to death at any moment. Now freezing the conflict obviously don't work. It has never worked, and it only benefits Russia, unfortunately. When Trump administration does it, I don't like it at all. It's really bad. It's gonna be really bad, and Russia will attack again. That's how they have acted 10 times out of 10 in the past. Every ceasefire, every act of peace with Russians is a pause in hostilities until the next war they start. Fortunately, if Trump doesn't know that, then he falls into the same trap as Biden has, not knowing how to read the Russian actions or not knowing how the Russian foreign policy works. So I do hope he doesn't do it. If he does, well, then we're gonna pump Ukraine so full of weapons, the price of war will go up for Putin. I saw some interesting comments about Ukrainian corruption, and this is why we shouldn't help Ukraine. And we have to talk about Ukrainian corruption because, I mean, this is how the democracy-based West operates, that you have to talk about the faults and the mistakes of governments. And this is how you learn, and this is how you change. This is how democracies evolve, because if some leader makes a mistake, he will be voted out of office based on his mistakes. And that's how democracies change and work, and they're not stuck like the authoritarian systems. Ukraine is facing corruption, massive corruption actually. It is one of the legacies of the Soviet Union. Ukraine is fighting this war to be able to distance itself from the Soviet-Russian standards and introduce deep reforms. Ukraine wants to meet the standards of the European Union. It took Poland 15 years after breaking away from the Moscow zone of influence. Great advocates of honesty at the same time support Russia, where the list of pathologies written on paper would reach from Moscow to Vladivostok, including killing political opponents and journalists. It is terrible hypocrisy that Ukraine is being pointed out for this poverty and negative phenomena in the system, and at the same time everything is being done to prevent Ukraine from changing this. Yeah, let's put the cards and the facts on the table. Soviet Union was a massively corrupt entity. Every country in the Soviet Union got that corruption from Moscow. Some of it was local, of course, but in the case of the Baltics, for example, as soon as we got free, we stepped into European Union and NATO about a decade and a half later. After we got free in 2004, we joined. And now, press freedom, religious freedom, all of these freedoms and privileges are one of the top highest in the world. It's wonderful to live here, and there is corruption. Corruption is minimal, as small as it can be, and every country has it. Democratic countries have it, always will, but it's kept at a minimal. In Poland also, Poland has made a massive leap. It's beautifully evolved. It's just almost an economic miracle, and the way they're weaponizing right now, it brings tears to my eyes. They react correctly to Russia. That shows us, and we have known it pretty much all the time, that you can start fighting corruption after you're done with Russia. You cannot fight corruption while being attacked by Russia or being in the Russian sphere of influence. Of course you must, but it has no effect. You have to be free first. This is how it was with us. Now, Ukraine wants to distance itself from the corruption and the Moscow's legacy, Moscow's cultural sphere of influence also, which is culture of theft, culture of corruption, culture of lying. But for that, they have to win the war. So by saying, yes, that we must not support Ukraine because they're corrupt, is like forcing that corruption on Ukraine. Because they cannot be not corrupt and move away from Moscow without winning the war. They have to push Moscow away. I just want to open that up. The corruption comes from Moscow. It's the capital of corruption. It goes out from there. You want to get away from it, you got to defeat them first. That's how it's done. And one point I also really like, I believe in, this is my reality. This is why I sometimes find it hard for people not to understand the support for Ukraine. Ukraine's allies are not doing a charity. They are making an investment in collective defense. And I would even reiterate the last one. They're making an investment to the very same world order, rights and privileges Western people right now hold. If you're living in Western Europe or America and you like your car, you like your freedom of speech, you like your freedom of religion, and your high wage or medium, whatever you are, low class, mid class or high class, you have no idea if you have not lived in the Soviet Union or Russia. if you're poor in the United States, oh, you can be so much poorer, so much. You have, like, there's no comparison. We moved on after World War II. They didn't. People in the West tend to forget how bad it can really be. And the privileges become invisible because we live them. We live the rights. We drive the cars. We have our protective laws of the workers, and the state cannot just put us in jail, and there's like the law protects me as much as the president. We have that. We forget that. You like that? I do. And I acknowledge that. Well, it can get a lot worse. And Ukraine right now is fighting for that to continue for us. For me, I have to invest in that. That's where I invest for my future, for my children, to have the same rights as I do right now. Because I love these rights I have here in Estonia. It's so nice and free to be here. I want my children to have it, but for that, we gotta win this war. Now, my friends, I'll bring you a prisoner of war from Russia, well, actually Buryatia, which is a region of Russia that has their own language and culture and religion, and they're pretty much occupied by Russia. It's Russian imperialism, colonialism inside Russia. This is a guy from Buryatia, now a prisoner, being interrogated. Are you Russian? No, Buryat. Name? 3rd of November 1997. Oh, he's pretty young. I enlisted in Moscow, signed the contract on 15th of October and came to Voronezh and had 4 days of training and came to Kursk. Me and my mates were drinking and decided to come and signed up while drunk. Oh boy, we were drinking, signed up while drunk. It's the worst. Like, you get a tattoo while you're drunk, oh, it's bad enough, okay, you can live with it. Hey, you signed a contract with the Russian Ministry of Defense while drunk. Now that, you don't come back from that. It's worse than a tattoo on your forehead. I came drunk on a plane to Moscow, sobered up and went to the office. 810th Brigade. I arrived here 27th to 28th of October. Now I'm in Ukrainian capture. Less than a month here and I'm captured. We're being lied to, thrown into a meat grinder. No training. They just give few magazines and go. Yeah, what a story, man. What a story. They're gonna make movies about you, my man. Now, my friends, Su-57. If any of you is connected to the United States Air Force, F-22, F-35, any kind of planes, hey, I don't know nothing about them, but now we have a footage of a Russian Su-57 doing tricks in China, up in the air in China. And now I'm looking for your insights. Put it in the comments. Oh, I'm just going to fast forward here. This is the Su-57. It's making a loop. Boom, made a loop. But now it gets interesting. Wait, sorry, one moment. Boom! It's doing all kind of crazy stuff the plane shouldn't do at all, but it's doing it, showing that it's very agile and maneuverable. Looks really awesome, really cool. It does all kind of like tricks, woo, boom, backflip. Nice. Well, alright, I'm sure you've seen it all. You've seen air shows and all of that stuff. Now, the first comment. Sorry, any fighter jet can do this. F-16, 15, 18, 22. An A-10 can put a really sweet show. And now, the most important comment here is maneuverable, some may say. I bet it has a Regner signature like Iron Mountain. This is where it gets down to. It's a 5th generation fighter, supposed to be the rival to the F-35, which the United States has mass-produced over 1,000, close to 2,000 of them now. It's a massive export article, and most of NATO countries are like they want the F-35. Finland is buying them. Hey, Suomi boys it. Now, this is supposed to be the Russian version of it, a Russian counterpart. Russia has produced only about 10 to 20 of them, all prototypes. They have not started the mass production. And by the looks of it, we see it close up. There are rivets and screws and all of that. It's not flush to the surface. They're painted over. They obviously have not used the special paint that hides your radars. I don't know the terminology, I'm sorry, but the special paint that F-35 has to make it look like a small bumblebee on a radar, they're not using that. It looks cool, it does these tricks, but you can see it miles away from the radar, 100 miles away from the radar, because it looks massive on the radar. And it's not stealth. And Russia cannot mass produce it. Two of the greatest minuses of this plane. Now, if I'm missing anything with my very primitive understanding of the planes, please educate me. This is how I get smart. Your comments. But now, my friends, talking about new tech, we'll jump to China. Yes, look at that. Now imagine you don't have to imagine, some of you have been there. You're in Iraq or Afghanistan or Kuwait. And there are, mountains. Afghanistan is all mostly mountain. You fight there, and usually you're hiding in between, taking cover behind the rocks or some kind of forward operating position that is, rocks and mountains. And suddenly, this is coming at you. It can go fast. It doesn't fall. It just rolls down the hill. You can run away, but it's faster than you. If you fall, this one won't fall. And we have seen the Ukrainian dogs the same way, without the wheels, fielding flamethrowers. This can field a flamethrower. It can field a machine gun, and it can field an anti-tank rocket-propelled grenade. So, of course you can shoot it, it will destroy it. But let's take 10 years from now, when they have advanced it and put some armor plates on top of it, so you cannot take it out with small arms fire or grenades. Suddenly you got a pretty scary and deadly robot charging at you at the mountains of whatever country you're fighting in. I don't know what to say. I see this being used in battle. Hey, but if China can do this, I want to see what Boston Dynamics can do with military tech. And now, my friends, the Hump Day edition of Buy Me a Coffee. The spine of the week has been broken, and for that, I will honor you with butchering some of the Buy Me a Coffee monthly members with my Estonian pronunciation. Irene Guerin, David Kartvrikt, Timothy Makken. Hey man, I've said your names ever since I was little. Yes, many times. Well, thank you for coming back, my friend. And then finally we have this Sanskrit or Hindi, or what is this language? I don't know, maybe some kind of Elvish language from India, I think. Thank you from Mr. Indian. Oh, maybe it's from Pakistan, then I get really angry comments. Well, thank you for supporting the channel, Mr. Secret Elvish man. Until my next video, which will be on Friday, so be sure to be back. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.